A Bugatti Veyron sat abandoned in a garage with a repair bill so insane, the owner simply gave up. £300,000. That was the official estimate. The gearbox, they were told, had failed completely. The fix? Replace the entire unit.
No alternatives.
No cheaper option. Just pay the bill or walk away. So the car sat there, untouched, until a guy with a YouTube channel, a toolbox, and a very different mindset decided to take a look for himself. What happened next sounds completely unbelievable. This wasn't just any car. The Bugatti Veyron is one of the most legendary machines ever built. When it launched in 2005, it rewrote the rules of what a road car could be. 16 cylinders, 4 turbochargers, more than 1,000 horsepower. It was faster than almost anything else on the planet. Bugatti reportedly lost money building every single one because the engineering was so extreme. These cars were never supposed to be simple. And that's exactly why the repair bill sounded believable. But here's where things start to get strange. Bugatti's official policy on the Veyron gearbox is brutally simple. If something goes wrong, they don't repair individual parts. They replace the entire gearbox as one sealed unit. That replacement costs around £300,000. Imagine hearing that over what might be a tiny fault hidden somewhere deep inside the car. Most people wouldn't question it. They'd assume a car this advanced must need a repair this expensive. That's exactly what happened to the previous owner. The car was repossessed and sold off for a fraction of its value because everyone believed the diagnosis was final. But was it? That's when Mat Armstrong stepped in. If you know his channel, you already know the pattern. He buys broken supercars that official dealers have basically given up on. Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, cars people think are beyond saving. Then he proves otherwise. Again and again. His approach is different from most mechanics because he refuses to start with the worst-case scenario. He starts simple. Check the basics first. Don't assume the expensive answer is the right one. Sounds obvious, right? Apparently not. When Matt got the Veyron, the engine would start, but the car refused to move. No drive.
No reverse.
Nothing. The gearbox wouldn't engage at all. To most people, that screams catastrophic transmission failure. A nightmare repair. Exactly what Bugatti had already concluded. But Matt didn't buy that explanation. He started digging. And what he found would leave the internet absolutely stunned. He brought in a specialist named Ricky from RE Performance. Using the car's diagnostic system, Ricky started checking different systems remotely. Think of it like plugging a computer into the brain of the car and asking every component if it's working properly. One by one, they tested things. Then they checked the gearbox pressure pump. According to the computer, everything looked normal. The system believed the pump was working perfectly. But standing next to the car, Matt heard nothing. No sound. No pressure building. Nothing happening at all. And that detail changed everything. Because when a computer says something is working but the component itself is completely dead, there's usually a simple explanation. Either the signal isn't reaching the part, or power isn't getting there in the first place. And that points to one tiny thing almost nobody thinks about until it fails. A fuse. Now, a fuse is about as basic as car parts get. It's a tiny safety device designed to break if too much electrical current flows through a circuit. It protects expensive systems from damage. Every car has them. They cost almost nothing. Replacing one takes seconds. But if a fuse blows, the component it powers suddenly stops working completely. Simple. Cheap. Easy to overlook. And that's where this story takes a turn nobody expected. Matt opened the fuse box and started checking every fuse by hand. No complicated process. No advanced engineering. Just patience. One fuse at a time. Most were fine. Then he found one that looked completely destroyed. Burnt through. Melted. Gone. But the weird part wasn't that the fuse had blown. It was the type of fuse someone had installed. It was a 40-amp mini fuse. That's unusual because mini fuses normally don't come in 40 amps. Someone had clearly fitted a non-standard fuse on purpose. And that tells a story all by itself. Because when a fuse keeps blowing, the correct fix is to find out why. The wrong fix is to keep installing bigger and bigger fuses until one survives. That's exactly what had happened here. Think about how dangerous that is for a second. A fuse is supposed to fail before the wiring does. It's the safety net. But if you install a fuse rated too high for the circuit, the fuse stops protecting anything. Now the wires themselves can overheat. Components can burn out. In extreme cases, the whole car can catch fire. Someone had already bypassed the safety system trying to stop the fuse from blowing. And eventually, even the oversized fuse failed too. That's when the Veyron died completely. And Bugatti's answer? Replace the entire gearbox. Matt removed the burnt fuse and tested the circuit manually. The moment they supplied power directly, the gearbox pressure pump suddenly came alive. For the first time since he bought the car, the pump actually ran. That was the breakthrough. Then he installed the correct 20-amp fuse. The pump built pressure exactly like it was supposed to. Then it shut off normally. Everything suddenly behaved perfectly. But the real moment came next. Matt climbed into the car and shifted out of park. It worked. Reverse engaged. Then neutral. Then drive. Smoothly. Instantly. No gearbox failure.
No destroyed transmission.
No £300,000 catastrophe. A car written off as economically hopeless was now fully operational because of a £5 fuse from a local shop. £5. That's it. They lifted the car on a ramp and tested it properly. All four wheels spun. The transmission worked perfectly under load. The entire repair that had scared away the previous owner was solved in minutes. And the internet completely exploded. Because the obvious question immediately hit everyone at the same time. How did Bugatti miss this? That's the uncomfortable part of the story. Bugatti's sealed gearbox policy means technicians often skip straight to replacing the entire unit instead of diagnosing smaller individual faults. On one hand, you can understand the reasoning. These cars are unbelievably complicated. Opening up a gearbox like this without the right knowledge could cause serious damage. Replacing the entire unit guarantees consistency. But what if the actual fault isn't inside the gearbox at all? What if it's just a fuse stopping power from reaching a pump? That's what has people so fired up. Because if nobody checks the basics first, owners can end up paying astronomical repair bills for problems that are incredibly simple. And suddenly, people started asking a very uncomfortable question. How many other Veyrons have been written off for something just as small? The scary thing is this wasn't even the first time Mat Armstrong embarrassed Bugatti. Before the Veyron, there was the Chiron. Bugatti's even more expensive successor. A car worth millions. Matt bought a damaged Chiron that insurance companies had already written off as a total loss. Most people saw an impossible project. He saw a puzzle. And once again, he ignored the official narrative and started checking everything himself. That rebuild took months. It wasn't luck. It required real skill, deep knowledge, and a stubborn refusal to accept that something was impossible just because the manufacturer said so. Piece by piece, the Chiron came back to life. The videos exploded online. Millions watched as a YouTuber succeeded where official systems had effectively given up. And according to many people online, Bugatti wasn't thrilled about it. Comments from Bugatti leadership suggested these cars should only be handled by official specialists. The message was clear. These vehicles are too advanced for outsiders to repair safely. Then Matt followed up the Chiron rebuild by fixing a Veyron with a £5 fuse. And suddenly that official message started looking very shaky. That's why this story matters far beyond one broken car. It challenges the entire idea of modern luxury car servicing. Are these massive repair bills always necessary? Or are owners sometimes being pushed toward the most expensive possible solution because it's easier, safer, or more profitable for the manufacturer? Nobody outside Bugatti really knows the answer. But millions of people watched a supposedly dead Veyron come back to life because someone bothered to check the basics first. And once people see that happen twice, they start questioning everything. Somewhere out there right now, there could be another abandoned supercar sitting under a cover in a dark garage. Another owner convinced the repair is impossible. Another six-figure estimate nobody dared challenge. And after this story, you can't help wondering, what if the real problem is something ridiculously small?